5%, he costs 35 million. Harry Maguire, 17 million, has 4% of the vote. And the cheapest of the bunch, Brighton and Hove Albion signing of Pascal Gross from Ingolstadt, he just costs 3 million and he's got 17% of the vote. So Mo, with Mo Salah leading the way, 74% of the vote, would you agree with that?
I think I have to. I mean, it's not often you spend 37 million, did you say? On
37,
someone and say it's a bargain.
Mm.
But in this day and age, what's his value now? You could probably put another 100 million onto that.
Well, this was obviously the pre-Neymar situation.
Yeah.
So this was before the Neymar transfer happened, which has obviously ballooned all these players' figures since then. So what do you think he'd be worth now, Jermaine?
I think you'd have to put them between probably 120 and 150 easy. I mean, what did Coutinho go for anyway? 120?
149?
Was it more than that, was it? Yeah. Well, there you go. I mean, you'd go for the equivalent of that right now, if not more. It's going to be interesting to see what happens come, obviously, the awards in the summer. I mean, after the summer that he has and stuff and going into next year with the Ballon d'Or and all that. But I don't see how you get Mo Salah for less than 150 million quid in today's market. So I like the Pascal Gross one. I mean, he's 3 million quid and what he's done for Brighton specifically has been brilliant, obviously assist-wise and that. But then what do you get for him kind of in today's market? You know, how much more would you get for him? So,
well, 7 goals and 8 assists is what he's provided for Brighton this year, Robbie. Could you see a case for Pascal Gross being the bargain of the season?
No. More
okay,
Salah.
just no.
More Salah.
3 million though.
It's even brilliant.
3 million's like
Salah.
people go in the Championship for like 15 million.
Yeah.
So
it's done great.
It's difficult to.
More Salah.
There's a few that didn't quite make the cut for the poll, because obviously we had to narrow it down with these polls to just 4 players. What about Mo Salah's teammate Andy Robertson? He only costs 8 million. Michael?
Yeah, it was surprising that he took so long to get into the team, because as soon as he started playing, everyone could see what a really good play he was, but he took a while to get into the team. And that's in a position as well that Liverpool were looking to strengthen, so it was a real strange one, that, early on in the season. But as soon as he started playing, he's been brilliant. And yeah, you could certainly make a case. I thought that the other players on there as well, Ederson at Man City that we mentioned before, he's had a brilliant season and a problem area, we would say, over the years. So there's so many that you could pick, but, you know, I don't think you can get away from Salah. Even at, 37 million, he's still a bargain. OK,
a couple of other notable mentions. Jack Cork, who's played every single minute for Burnley in this incredible season they've had. They've made it into Europe, Jermaine. Can you see a case for him being a big bargain as well?
Well, if you look at what's happened since he's left Swansea as well, and how much they probably missed him, there's a factor in that in terms of he has been a bargain. Did he get himself into the England squad as well?
Yeah,
I think he did. I think he got himself into the England squad, which tells you how much of a good season he's had in line with Burnley. I think anybody that moves within the Premier League for less than double figures is a bargain.
Yeah, Robbie, I remember at the start of the season as well, we talked quite a lot about Richarlison, his move to Watford.
Had a good first half, didn't he?
Started well, but it just didn't quite come in the end for the whole season.
Quite a lot. What about Ince's favourite, Schindler?
Schindler.
Did he sign?
He's got to be on the list, doesn't he?
He's not. Hey, yes, Michael. This is how today's show is. To get that one. Let's move on to the next poll then. So this time we've got the biggest disappointment of the season, and by this we don't mean just the biggest disappointment as a player, but just in general. So we narrowed it down to 4 things. Chelsea's title defence. That's been a big disappointment. They might even finish outside the top 4. That's got 15% of the vote. 19% of the vote went for Alexis Sanchez's move to Manchester United as a big disappointment. 27% for Everton's summer signings. Just never really worked out. They spent 150 million. 39% of the vote to Renato Sanchez's move to Swansea. So what would you guys agree with on that?
Chris Sutton's performances on this show. Disappointment.
He's not here
to defend himself.
That's why he's not here. Last day of the season.
He's got an important Scottish football game to do. So, Jermaine, what do you reckon to those 4?
It's hard to kind of not agree with the Renato Sanchez situation coming from Bayern Munich and the way that he lit up the Euros, I suppose, as well. We expected a lot. I probably took Arsenal's season in that as well, in that mix. I think now, obviously, we know it's Arsene Wenger's last year, but even any Arsenal team that performed the way that they have this year has got to be going into that category as well.
And what about West Brom, Michael? Because they started quite well under Tony Pulis. 2 wins out their first 2, I think it was, and then now relegated.
Yeah, and they finished quite well as well, haven't they? There's just a lot to be left to be desired in the middle of the season. So they've been a disappointment. Obviously, they've been in the Premier League for some time now, and it's obviously going to be important to bounce back straight away. But there's plenty of disappointments. I'm not sure whether you can pin a disappointment on one certain player, but I certainly think the likes of Arsenal in Wenger's last season, Chelsea's title defence, as you've mentioned, and Everton. Everton have been really poor. In general, their signings have been shocking, and they've gone back a couple of steps from where they were about 5 years ago.
Man United will finish second, Robbie, but with Alexis Sanchez's signing in January, it was the big one everyone was talking about. Probably one of the most expensive players wage-wise in the Premier League, I think he is. Why hasn't that worked out for him? Why has it been such a disappointment?
No idea, Jules, to be fair. I think it was a good... I think we'll see the best of Sanchez next season. You know, he's got everything to play for a Jose Mourinho side. You know, he works hard, doesn't he? He works so hard, but... Listen, I don't know why. He hasn't done that bad, has he? He's not
but it's horses
great,
for courses, isn't it? How many players like that don't shine under Jose Mourinho? How many defenders that are probably not as good as everyone thinks they are do shine under Jose Mourinho? It's the way he plays. It's the way he sets up. You know, anyone can play centre-half for Man United when you've got brilliant sitting midfielder in Matic, the best keeper in the world behind you, full-backs that don't really go forward too much. You're protected so much, but up the other end, you know, it's very difficult to shine. You look at the great players that have come in. Everybody thought Mkhitaryan, everybody thought Sanchez. There's so many players that fail to shine.
We've seen glimpses of Sanchez for United in the derby when they were 2-0 down. You know, a couple of good balls in when they won for Smalling for the winner in the semi-final. I think he did okay as well, didn't he?
Yeah,
so we've seen glimpses of him.
With Sanchez, I think I agree with Sav. You'll get the better of him. I think he works too hard and he's too professional for it not to kind of turn back round for him. The bigger disappointment for me is the impact that it's had on Rashford and Martial. They went through a little stage in the season where even if one wasn't playing, the other one was coming on and scoring, and it was like they was battling it out for their, for their position. And now, obviously, with the recent comments of Mourinho and stuff like that, I mean, God knows what happens to those two. I mean, I would try, if I was Rashford, to get myself out on loan as soon as possible and try and get a full season under my belt, because right now it doesn't look like he's going to get a game at United.
Where would be good for him to go?
I'd like to see him go abroad, to be honest with you. I think going to any of the kind of top six in the Premier League, he's going to come up against similar obstacles. But I think if he can get himself to somewhere like what Jadon Sancho has gone and done, Adona Lookman, they've gone abroad and started to light up the Bundesliga. There are teams now that I think Rashford needs a full season. I know he's played a lot of games, but I think he needs to be kind of like the marquee guy, the number one, just like Michael was when he was the younger player at a top club. Go and score a load of goals and kind of get your name on the map, from a European perspective.
There's a few players that have seemed to be a bit of a Premier League flop this season: Bakayoko, Murata, Carillo, and Davy Klaassen. Why do you think it hasn't worked out for these guys? And of those that I've just named, Michael, who do you think has been the biggest disappointment?
Well, inevitably, you're going to get loads of players that aren't so successful. You could Berahino at Stoke's been disappointing again, considering the money he's gone for. There's loads of players that you can say have had disappointing seasons. Bakayoko, for me, that title defence by Chelsea was a little bit... They went out with a bit of a whimper, and of course they had such a strong midfield in their title-winning side. Then I think he's been a very poor sign, and possibly bought the wrong one from France. So I mean, it's he'd probably be the standout there. Sanchez, as well, as we've mentioned before, at Swansea, has been an average signer. But
Bakayoko and Drinkwater together, 80 million for Chelsea. They sold Matic to a title rival. It just hasn't worked out for Bakayoko. And do you think it's because the Chelsea fans are comparing him quite a bit to how much of an impact Matic had on that team?
Possibly, but, the role's there for him. But we're Kante doing that role as well. He's been the player of the year again, hasn't he, for Chelsea?
Yeah, he won it the other day.
Bakayoko, listen, I think Bakayoko, again, he's strong, he's physical. He has done well, in certain games, but he needs to do better next year, there's no question about that.
It has to be one of the worst bits of business ever, isn't it? To sell Matic and to replace... Well, whoever you're going to replace him with. He's brilliant. He's one of the best sitting midfield players in the world. How can you... Well, one, how can you sell him? Two, how can you sell him to your arch rivals?
Do you blame that on Chelsea's title defence not going as well as it could have?
It's got a decent percentage of it, I would blame. I mean, the manager hasn't looked as if he's been on it all season, I don't think. I'm not sure how much he loves it, how much he wants to go back to Italy. I'd be surprised if he was there next season. So I just think the whole atmosphere has been really poor. But, I mean, it started off on the wrong foot selling Matic.
Yeah, but also Murata's taken a lot of the blame as well from Chelsea fans, hasn't he, Jermaine? He cost 75 million, and he scored less goals in the Premier League than Glenn Murray.
Just had to get that in.
Had to get that one in. That's my stat of the day.
Just talking about like the Bakayoko situation first, I think defensively, I think Chelsea only conceded maybe 1 or 2 goals more than they did last year, and we're all kind of lauding this amazing defence and the way that they played. I think a lot of these players are coming to Chelsea at a bad time. From minute one, Conte had been moaning about recruitment, and when you're one of those players that I've been brought in, from a confidence perspective, it can't be nice. It's very rarely been settled, that side, to the point where at one stage he was talking about bringing in, Glenn Murray might have been on the list at one point to come to Chelsea. How did Alvaro Murata feel at that point? So I would blame the manager as well, a lot for not maybe giving the confidence to the players that he has brought into the club. But what's he got, 15 goals, 16 goals, Murata?
He's got 12 this season, 11 in the Premier League.
Yeah, so I mean, he will be disappointed with that, don't get me wrong, but he's had a few injuries. And obviously with Giroud coming in, that's kind of probably pushed back his game time as well. He's a classy player, Murata. He just looks like he's suffering with a lot of confidence.
It's the big chances he's missed, Robbie, that the Chelsea fans are disappointed with, though, because he's had fairly good chances to put the ball in the back of the net. And
well, Michael will tell you better as a centre-forward. I think the good thing for a centre-forward would be keep getting in those positions to try and score, Michael, no?
There'll always be good finishers, bad finishers and whatever, but I would never worry about people missing chances. I'm worried about the rest of his game, really. I've watched him quite a lot, obviously in his Madrid days as well. He was never a starter there. He'll always score a few goals. He's quite direct, and I thought he'd be more suited to the English game because he's great with his head. He's great with crosses. But his touch is really poor, and his hold-up play, link-up play, and his decision-making in front of goal. I think it's his choice of finishes that are worse than his actual, the end product. So, listen, I'm not a big fan of his. I must admit, I don't think he's certainly not a 70-odd million. I said it when he first signed that I'm not too keen on that signing. He will score goals because he's in a great team and he's quite direct. But in terms of looking at someone that's going to fire to the title, then he's not for me.
What about Southampton's record signing, Dido Carillo? He's not yet scored a goal for Southampton, and he cost them 19 million. He moved in January. 19 million.
Yeah. 90 then.
No, don't worry. But not yet scored a goal, Michael. He's their record signing. Do you know that you're actually still Newcastle's record signing to this day?
That's right.
How much pressure does that put on you as a player? Do you think that's why he's suffering?
I don't think so. I mean, it depends. Some people can take pressure and some people can't. I think the best players, if you're going to play in the Premier League, for decent clubs, you have to be able to take some pressure. And a transfer fee, you're going to be on the pitch thinking, oh, God, I cost 19 million and that means I'm going to play well or not. I don't think really that transfer fees matter so much. It's as soon as you sign, then you want to do well for yourself, and of course it should give you confidence, if anything, to think I'm the record signing for this place. But Gabbiadini signed, and I thought he was a real goal scoring type, and he hasn't played much this season for Southampton.
I think they are. I just think, if you look at every creative player for Southampton, I mean, yes, granted, they've just obviously, just about come away from relegation, depending on what City do today and everything. But every creative player they've got has not had a good year. You can go for it, Redmond, Tadic, even Ward-Prowse, who, we expect so much of as a young English player, been on the bench a lot of the time. And then you go through Charlie Austin. I mean, I would be surprised if their top goal scorer is in double figures.
No,
I could almost guarantee he's not. Are they being set up the right way to go and play, this attacking football, to bring the best out of players like Carillo and Austin and Ward-Prowse? I would say probably not, which is why they got rid of their manager. So, he's a record signing. He's not doing something in training to the point where even a new manager's coming in and going, I still don't fancy her.
Yeah.
So you've got to point the finger at Carillo, but I have to say, from Southampton's perspective, they've not done enough for their attacking players.
We got Franny Benali on today, and we're watching the Southampton game. And until a couple of weeks ago, Southampton had created the most chances out for the team outside the top 6. So they are creating chances. So...
What's creating chances, though? It's a very vague kind of stat, innit?
It is, but it's a stat.
I whipped a ball in the box, it's not near anybody.
Stats can cloud people's judgment, we know that, but in the stat, it does say, outside the top 6, they have created the most chances for a player.
Well, they've had Shane Long up front on his own most of the season. You know, I know that Charlie's not played a lot of those games.
No, he's been missing, and he is their top
Carrillo's not played a lot of
7
games.
goals, Charlie
As Michael said, Gabbiadini, off the back of what we saw in the cup final against Man United, and just a natural goal scorer, he's hardly played any games. So you can put as many balls in the box as you want.
Yeah.
If you've got someone at the top who can't put it in the back of the net, or even just one person, the chances are, you know, that's the way the stats are going to weigh up.
Yeah. OK, well, let's move on to some positives. Let's look at the positives of some of these players. These are the ones to watch looking ahead to next season. We've done the poll on this one. 12% to Ademola Lookman, 8% for Phil Foden, and then pretty close between the next two. Ryan Sessegnon with 32% and 48% for Ruben Neves. Robbie, who do you think out of those 4 is going to light up the most next season?
Well, Lookman's having a great season, isn't he, in the Bundesliga for Leipzig. I think he got another goal at the weekend.
He did,
I think it's like 6 or 7 goals in so many games. So Neves, I'm looking forward to. You know, will he stay at Wolves? That goal he scored in the Championship was against Derby.
Oh, it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Volley, yeah.
What,
against
you know,
Derby.
I'm looking forward to seeing him, how he can cope in the Premier League, because the step up from the Championship to the Premier League is huge. People think it's easy, but it's not. There's a big gulf, but I'm looking forward to seeing Neves if he stays at Wolves.
And he's only 21 years old, so he's a youngster as well. He's got a lot to learn and a lot to experience in the Premier League, Jermaine.
Yeah, but I think even as a club, Wolves, you know, they're going to get a bit of a shock themselves as well, taking that step up, and it's how he adapts to that. He's obviously a quality player. He scores goals, so he's going to be a threat. The Lookman situation will be interesting, whether he even wants to come back. You know, the Everton kind of overturn of what they're going to go through, whether it's managerial or players individually, that could have a knock-on effect on him. So whether he would want to come back, and then, I mean, me and Michael were just briefly talking then about Phil Foden, and I personally don't see him playing next year for Manchester City. He's another one, I'd say, get out of there as soon as possible, on loan. You know, keep yourself close to the club, but go and play football now. I want to see what this guy's got, because from what I've seen in glimpses, he's outrageous. He's unbelievable. But go and play. I just don't think Manchester City will get that time.
We got his start in the Champions League, didn't he? And everyone thought, oh, this is the start of him maybe getting more starts in the Premier League. Just hasn't quite happened, has it? Do you agree with Jermaine? Do you think he should go elsewhere?
Yeah. The thing is, when you can tell whether a manager's really, really keen or not.
Yeah.
Did he start in the knockout stages of the Champions League? Did he start in any of the big games? Does he come on when it's 5-0 every time? Yes, he does. I mean, yes, he's a very good player. He's an exceptional talent, but he's not in on the in the big games. When you need a goal, do you bring him on? No, you bring someone else on. So he's getting experience bit by bit. It's time, as I say, for him to probably play a lot more now at that level, and then hopefully come back and be a regular in the team. But at the moment, I don't see him, and next season, I don't see him either. Sessegnon is an interesting one at Fulham. Everybody raves about him.
Yeah.
And I go with a lot of what people are saying, but I've watched him about 4 or 5 times. I'm still waiting to see what everybody else says about him, I must admit. But no doubt he's talented. But no, in terms of Foden, I'd get out on loan if I could. OK,
guys, thanks for now. Keep voting on these polls. When we're actually on the show live on BT Sport 1 from 2:45, we're going to be covering the best breakthrough player of the season, the best goal, the best game, and your manager of the season, aside from Pep Guardiola. So make sure you vote on those polls. Visit the BT Sports Score Twitter page to find them, and we'll see you live at 2:45.